All right, welcome to the channel. My name is Terrell. I've been a content creator and video producer for the last 20 years. We are going over all things creative, all the things that help us do our jobs better, whether that's cameras, equipment, and today we're going over something that is a pain point for almost everyone, and it is power. For your video camera, whether that's laptop, your lights, everything requires power, and when you travel and you're on set, you never know what's gonna happen. So today we're gonna start going over some of these budget battery pack options. And we have one of the best ones for the value, I think, right here. This is brand new, Harbor Freight. This is the Predator, the smallest battery pack that they make. But at $199, it might be the best value out there for content producers right now. You don't know what your lighting's gonna look like, how long you're gonna be on set, what if there's gonna even be power. And the idea of dragging a generator around. Oh, geez. Does anyone want to carry these around anymore? I don't. Not when that can output 2,000 watts. This can output 2,000 watts. Both of these are smaller than that one generator. At this point, just something you can't do. So these little battery banks, they become invaluable. You can plug a light into them. You can run your laptop off of them. You can media manage off of them. And without them, I don't even know how you'd operate. One of my favorites as of the moment is the Anker 300. And this goes head to head, supposedly, with that. Now, there are other options out there. EcoFlow has some great ones. Actually, we have one that we built ourselves, which for the value might be the best out there as far as value per dollar and it being custom made for video production. But this Predator might be the one that is the value king, and we're gonna get into that. And so let's get this thing open, kind of walk through the features and see what it can do. So, opening this bad boy up. AC power, 12 volt power. So if you need to plug this thing into a car, charge it on the go, I guess that'd be helpful. I don't necessarily need that. Solar power, this is pretty much useless. We don't do anything solar. Solar takes too long, plug it into a wall at lunch. I want it to charge fast from an AC outlet. Getting into this thing, it seems to be packaged pretty well. It's junky, that's for sure. It's pretty stout. I mean, it's, for the size, it's got a little bit of heft to it. Here's the Anker. They're about the same size. The Anker's probably a little bit smaller all the way around. You know, it's a bit smaller. It says it's a 350 running watts, 700 starting watts. The real money maker for us is that 350 number. We have a couple lights that will push that, and we'll see what it does. 12 volt port. Again, for us, that's pointless. Solar input really means nothing. The one downfall to this that I didn't know until we opened it, it's only got one USB-C port. That's kind of a deal breaker. I didn't know that it only had one. We charge, I mean, whether it is laptops, V-mount batteries are all now fast charging over USB-C. Lights that are charged via USB-C. We kind of live by it. The more USB-C we have, the better. Just having one is kind of a bummer. And 100 watts is not bad. I mean, that's pretty substantial. If we wanted to charge this via USB-C while charging a battery or running a light or something like that, we can't do that with the only one, where something like the Anker, we have 140 watts in and 140 watts out, or 240 watt out, but we'll see how it does. And you know, for the price, it's kind of hard to beat. We'll see what it can do. One of the things about these power banks is some of them mean 350 watts out of the AC ports. Some of them mean 350 watts out of everything. This is almost a 300 watt hour battery, meaning that you can do 300 watts for an hour. It's two MacBooks running at full tilt for an hour. It's not bad. For the size, it's about what you can expect. But if you were to plug this in, you could run a small rig light for 3 hours, 4 hours. That's a lot better than having to sit down and swap through a ton of the V-mount batteries. Plug it in, run the light until lunch, unplug the light, charge this thing over lunch, and be done with it. Or if you're changing locations, you could turn it off, plug it in. You never need to worry about how much power the light has. And if you need to change the batteries, hopefully this thing would last one day. With that said, you're only getting one light unless you want to put a brick into there. And I mean, you can do that, but it's not very elegant. We're gonna charge this bad boy all the way up, plug it into one of our big aperture lights, push it to that 350 watt limit. So we'll see how this thing handled it. And if it can handle it, and then maybe we'll try plugging in a couple other little fun things along the way and see if we can make it trip and see where the limit is. All right, let's see what we can do to make this thing trip. So we'll take this Aputure 300D, which I know can output about 330 watts. So here we go, it's at 60% now. Push that all the way up to 100. We're doing about 330 watts. We also have the small rig light, which I know does 100 watts. So we'll turn that all the way up. Ooh, we're in the 420 range. Is this thing gonna turn off? The fan's on now. We don't need the DC outlet. Oh, well, that actually turned off more power than I thought it would. Now, why don't we plug in a couple small rig batteries? This is almost completely dead. It's at 4%. We're at 425. 440. Plug in one more. See what happens there. We're at almost 500 consistently. That's pretty impressive. I mean, it's only gonna last 20 minutes, which means neither of those batteries are gonna get full. And obviously both of our lights will turn off very quickly. Oh, you can really hear the fan now. I'll try to put my microphone closer. While on set, we would never, ever do anything like this. I'm just gonna let this run for a little bit and see if it eventually trips. Nope. It didn't last a long time, but that was impressive that it went as long as it did. I can tell you how often this situation right here happens. End of the day, we're done with production. We're using truck bed as a makeshift workbench, laptop, hard drives, memory cards, doing all the data management for the day, only to run out of power on your laptop. All right, while this setup isn't 100% accurate, as we're using a 10 gig Ethernet running back to our server for footage, it is pretty indicative of what always ends up happening. You're out running around and client has a random request to change something and give your laptop and not enough power to actually finish the render before the battery dies. And so in this situation, we have no worries. I mean, this laptop itself can pull 230 watts through the brick, and we're doing every bit of that right here. And this thing's going basically at full tilt, 100% CPU, 100% GPU usage to get this timeline rendered. And while not completely accurate, it is something that almost everyone in our industry can relate to. So through the testing, one of the things that's super quirky about this Predator is I can only get it to charge the AC at about 80 watts. It takes 3 hours to charge through just the AC port. AC plug, 70 watts right now, that's it. 4 hours remaining to fill it up. I mean, for me and what we do, that's just not okay. We want to be able to plug this thing in and it charge up completely over lunch or in a break or while we're driving. 72 watts is pretty slow. If you want to charge it faster, you have to plug in both the AC plus the USB, meaning that you have two plugs into the wall. You can also, I guess, plug in solar and that'll make it go even faster. But like I said, for us, solar's kind of pointless. We're not going to be on set with a bunch of solar panels laid out or have it plugged into a van with solar on top. It's a single use item and we want to plug it into a wall or generator over lunch or something and it charge as fast as possible again so that we can get back to work. By contrast, this Anker does somewhere in like the 300 to 400 watts in through the AC port. This thing recharges really, really quickly. All that said, I'm a little disappointed. I was really hoping that this was gonna charge faster. I thought this was gonna really be on par with the Anker, or at least our homemade bank. The way that we like to use these things, that's just not fast enough. The idea of having to plug in a USB-C and AC at the same time to get anywhere near what ours can do. Power this thing up and see if we can get some more power going in. There we go. And then not even touch what the anchor is capable of. That's kind of rough, especially when you say these are about the same price. That's kind of a deal breaker. And Predator, you should really look into that. In a pure apples to apples comparison versus this and the Anker C300, I probably lean towards the Anker. I really like this. If you are a camper, an overlander, or you're just looking for a solid unit with a good value, I think this is it. For us, the Anker having all the USB-C ports, being able to fast charge, giving us one more AC port, even though it can't output quite as much as this one. Having all of those things, you can really just jam a lot of power into it, and you take a lot of power out, and you can attach a lot of things to it, and it's super versatile. I feel like this thing is built better, but at 200 bucks right now, you know, inside of a production environment, it's not the end all be all if you break it. While I don't like breaking things happen. Luckily, these things aren't $500. At that point, you start getting a little more cautious. Even right now, this thing is powering this Aputure 300D at about 50% power. It is happy as a clam. It's at like 40% battery. It's got an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes of runtime left. And that is incredible. You know, you are on a remote shoot or you're going somewhere where you don't know you're gonna have power. You can bring one of these along, you can plug into a light, you can plug in your V-mount batteries to your cameras if you have USB-C into them or through the other AC port and charge. And it's a really versatile tool and something that, while we might not get this exact unit again, I am excited to see some of the bigger Predators with maybe more USB-C. Having these kind of battery banks are the future of video production, at least for us. This is fully a production tool. And where we need it to work is between setups, between breakdowns, when we're traveling or whatever, we need to be able to plug this thing in and just jam power into it as fast as possible. Something like the Anker C300, it can do 300-400 watts in and completely recharge in under an hour on the AC port. That is awesome. I never saw it get over 170 with both the AC and the USB-C. And even then, you're using two ports to try to get maximum power into it. That's kind of rough. But if you know you only have one setup for a day, it's an interview, it's only gonna last an hour or two, and you just need a battery and you're not sure about power or where you're gonna plug a light into, this thing is just built for it. It's small, it's compact, you can pack it away. You could almost probably fit this in a big light box and it just live with the light. If you like the Predator PowerStation 350, you want to see more reviews like this, we have one with the Anker coming up. It's a great little unit. Also, it's been in our production now since its release almost. We also have a DIY battery bank that is going toe to toe with both of these. It's a kick little unit, but you got to put it together. So there's some blood, sweat, and tears into building that one. That's coming soon. Also, we also have a DJI battery bank that I'm excited to test. It looks really promising. Outside of that, we got a lot of other fun content coming, whether that's a DIY NAS, different cameras and camera reviews and lenses and setups that we use and that I really like. Thanks for watching. We are here to go through all the things that make us better creatives, whether that's power, data management, cameras, computers, gizmos, gadgets, and widgets that just make life better doing creative things. We look forward to showing you what our process, what we found, what we like, what's cool, and we'll see you next time. Bye.